Lightning McQueen has a 750 horsepower V8 engine, a top speed north of 200 miles per hour, 7 Piston Cup championships, and a mentor who was literally built from NASCAR's DNA. But get this, none of that would matter if he lined up against the most terrifying driver in NASCAR history. Because Dale Earnhardt didn't just beat you with speed, he beat you with your own fear. And in a real NASCAR race, that changes everything. So let's actually test this. Not just vibes, not just opinions. We're going to break down the numbers, run the comparisons, put McQueen on a real NASCAR oval, and figure out once and for all if a fictional champion could survive against the real thing. Lightning McQueen versus the Intimidator. Let's run it. All right, let's start where everyone starts. The raw numbers. Lightning McQueen's official stats come straight from Pixar's production notes released alongside Cars 2. 750 horsepower V8, 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds. Top speed listed at 200 miles per hour. His design is a hybrid of a Generation 4 NASCAR stock car, a Corvette C6, a Ford GT40, and a Dodge Viper. So Pixar basically built him to be a NASCAR car with extra style points. His number is 95, a reference to the year Toy Story came out. Cute. But we're here for performance, not sentimentality. Now here's where it gets interesting. That 200 mile per hour top speed lines up almost perfectly with a restrictor plate era Cup car. After NASCAR mandated restrictor plates in 1988, qualifying speeds at Daytona dropped from Bill Elliott's absurd 212.8 miles per hour in 1987 down to under 200. So McQueen's speed is essentially a post-1988 superspeedway car. That's the ballpark we're working with. But there's a problem. The Cars universe doesn't play by these rules consistently. In Cars 3, McQueen's speed is gauged at 198 miles per hour, down from a reported prime of 230. And in Cars 2, he goes head-to-head with Francesco Bernoulli, who is essentially a formula car, and they are dead even on street circuits. If McQueen can match a car built for downforce on a technical course, his real capabilities are being sandbagged by Piston Cup regulations. Same way, real NASCAR teams are limited by the rulebook. So let's be generous and use McQueen at his peak. 230 miles per hour, 750 horsepower. Elite handling for a stock car body. Now Dale Earnhardt's machines. The number 3 GM Good Wrench Chevrolet, prepared by Richard Childress Racing. In unrestricted trim during 1987, the fastest season in NASCAR history, these cars were pushing well past 200. Bill Elliott qualified at Talladega that year at 212.8 miles per hour. After restrictor plates came in 1988, speeds dropped below 200. But at non-plate tracks like Bristol, Darlington, and Atlanta, Earnhardt consistently ran at the front. His 1987 championship season saw 11 wins, an average finish of 5.9, and 3,357 laps led. The car was fast, but the driver was the weapon. On paper, these two are close, eerily close. Same horsepower class, same speed window on super speedways, same oval racing DNA. This is where most people stop the analysis. They see matching numbers and call it a coin flip. That's the wrong conclusion. Because NASCAR has never been decided on a spec sheet. Here's where the comparison starts to tilt, and it tilts hard. Lightning McQueen, for all his talent, has a fatal weakness that the movies themselves acknowledge. He doesn't think, he reacts. In the first Cars film, his entire arc is built around learning the most basic lesson in motorsport, that racing is not a solo act. He burns through 3 crew chiefs before the movie even starts. He refuses to pit. He doesn't manage tires. He relies almost entirely on raw speed and instinct. Let's look at this. In the Dinoco 400, the final race of the 2005 Piston Cup season, McQueen has a massive lead. All he has to do is pit. His tires are shredded. Both rear tires blow on the final lap because he refused a routine pit stop. That's not a speed problem. That's a decision-making problem. Dale Earnhardt was the opposite of that. Earnhardt grew up building stock cars in his father Ralph's garage in Kannapolis, North Carolina. He dropped out of school to race on dirt tracks as a teenager, borrowing money from a local bank on Thursdays to race on weekends. If he didn't win, he couldn't make the payment on Monday. That is not an environment that produces instinct racers. That produces a driver who understands every mechanical variable under the hood because his survival depends on it. By the time Earnhardt reached the Cup Series full-time in 1979, he already understood something McQueen doesn't learn until the end of his first movie. You don't win a race on lap 1. You win it on the last 10 laps. And everything before that is set up. His 1987 season is the best illustration. 11 wins, 4 consecutive, 5 of the first 7, an average finish of 5.9. That is not a driver who showed up fast and hoped for the best. That is a driver who systematically dismantled the field through tire management, pit strategy, and a surgical understanding of when to push and when to wait. McQueen only learns strategy when Doc Hudson teaches it to him in Radiator Springs. And even then, his execution is inconsistent. In Cars 3, Jackson Storm shows up running next-generation speeds, and McQueen's response is to train harder, not smarter. He crashes a simulator. He can't adapt to new methods. Earnhardt never had that problem. When restrictor plates came in 1988, he adapted immediately. When Jeff Gordon started winning championships, Earnhardt didn't spiral. He studied him. His final 2 career victories came in 2000, more than 2 decades after his first. So on pure racing IQ, Earnhardt has a generation's worth of advantage. But that's still not the biggest problem McQueen would face. If you're already seeing where this is going, and you want more breakdowns like this, real NASCAR history, tested against things you wouldn't expect, subscribe. We go deep on this channel. And drop a like on this video so we know to keep making stuff like this. This is the part of the comparison that breaks the entire hypothetical wide open. Dale Earnhardt didn't just race against you. He occupied space inside your head before the green flag dropped. That black number 3 in your mirror wasn't just another car. It was a psychological weapon. The nickname says it all. The Intimidator. It wasn't media hype. It was earned through decades of calculated aggression. The signature move was the bump and run. Earnhardt would close in on the car ahead, tap the rear bumper just hard enough to unsettle the driver, then slide past while they were still correcting. He did this to Darrell Waltrip. He did it to Terry Labonte at Bristol in 1999, spinning him out of the lead on the final lap to take the win. He did it to anyone who stood between him and the checkered flag. The famous pass in the grass at Charlotte in 1987, where he went off track onto the grass at full speed and somehow held it, was the moment the nickname crystallized. Most drivers would have wrecked. Earnhardt kept the throttle down and came out ahead. Now think about what this means for McQueen. McQueen is a front runner. He likes clean air. He likes being out ahead where his speed does the talking. That is the exact type of driver Earnhardt ate alive. Front runners are predictable. They run the same line. They protect the same groove. Earnhardt would sit behind McQueen for 50 laps, studying every micro adjustment, learning the rhythm, and then he'd make his move at the worst possible moment. And here's the thing about McQueen's psychology. The movies show us, repeatedly, that he cracks under pressure. In the first film, he chokes when the race gets tight. In Cars 3, he spirals into a full identity crisis after Jackson Storm outruns him. McQueen's mental game is his weakest attribute. Earnhardt's mental game was his strongest. His own son, Dale Jr., said it best. You wanted to please him all the time. You wanted to get a response from him. If that was the effect he had on his own family, imagine what it was like for a competitor who had to stare at that black Chevrolet for 3 hours at 180 miles per hour. That mismatch alone might be the deciding factor. There's an irony buried in this matchup that most people miss. McQueen's mentor, Doc Hudson, the fabulous Hudson Hornet, is based on real NASCAR history. The character draws from Herb Thomas, who drove Hudson Hornets to 2 Grand National Championships in 1951 and 1953, and Marshall Teague, who turned the Hornet into NASCAR's first truly dominant machine. These drivers competed in the earliest era of stock car racing, on dirt ovals, with cars that topped out around 145 horsepower. Doc's number is 51, referencing the Hornets' first year of competition. Disney didn't make this up. Hudson actually won the championship from 1951 to 1953. The Cars universe is built on top of real NASCAR history. Doc taught McQueen how to turn left on dirt, how to draft, how to use the wall to flip over a car. All of these skills trace back to 1950s NASCAR. Dale Earnhardt also started on dirt tracks, same fundamentals, but he refined them through 26 years of Cup Series competition, 676 starts, 76 wins, and 7 championships. McQueen was trained by a version of the past that Earnhardt had already evolved beyond. McQueen would be running a 1950s playbook against a driver who rewrote the playbook for the modern era. One more variable, and it might be the most overlooked one. In NASCAR, the driver is only one piece of the equation. The crew chief, the pit crew, the engineers, the spotter. This is a team sport operating under the illusion of individual competition. Earnhardt's partnership with car owner Richard Childress lasted from 1984 until his death in 2001. 67 of his 76 career wins came with that team. His crew, Chief Kirk Shelmerdine, was with him for 4 of his 7 championships. That is institutional knowledge that compounds over years, creating advantages in setup, strategy, and communication that outsiders cannot replicate. McQueen's crew situation. It's a revolving door. He burns through his entire pit crew before the first movie is even half over. His eventual team is built from the residents of a small town on Route 66. Guido is a genius on lug nuts, sure, but the Radiator Springs crew is not an operation built to compete against a team that had been optimizing at the highest level of stock car racing for nearly 2 decades. Pit stops in NASCAR are won and lost in fractions of seconds. Tire strategy decisions happen in real time, based on weather, track temperature, and degradation models that require data and experience. McQueen's team operates on heart. Earnhardt's team operated on precision. Heart is a great story. Precision wins races. Alright, let's actually simulate this race. Let's say it's 1993 Talladega, the Winston 500. Restrictor plates are in play, so top speeds are capped around 195 to 200. That's McQueen's zone. The field is 43 cars. McQueen draws a mid-pack starting position. Earnhardt starts inside the top 5 because he qualified at Talladega 10 times in his career and won there 10 times. He knows every inch of this track. Green flag drops. McQueen does what McQueen does. He charges through the field. Within 20 laps, he's in the top 10. He's drafting well because Doc taught him that. By lap 50, McQueen is running 3rd. Earnhardt, he's sitting in 8th. Conserving tires. He doesn't need the lead yet. He needs the lead on lap 188. First round of pit stops. McQueen's Radiator. Springs' crew gets him out in a decent stop, but nothing elite. Earnhardt's Childress crew gets him out a full second faster. Small margin. It adds up. By lap 100, McQueen has burned through his best set of tires trying to hold the lead. He's running the high line, which eats rubber faster. Earnhardt has been running the low line, saving his best push for the final stint. Lap 160. Earnhardt moves to 5th, then 3rd. Then he's on McQueen's bumper. And this is where it ends for McQueen. Earnhardt at Talladega, with 50 laps to go and fresh tires, is a different animal. He bump drafts the car ahead of McQueen, creating a 2-car run that slingshots him alongside. McQueen blocks high. Earnhardt goes low. McQueen reacts late because he's never raced anyone who moves like this. One tap on the quarter panel. McQueen gets loose. Earnhardt clears him clean. McQueen finishes 4th, maybe 3rd on a good day. He was fast enough to lead. He wasn't prepared enough to close. If you made it this far, you clearly understand that NASCAR is more than just turning left. So do us a favor, hit subscribe, and check out this video right here.